right. Islam is the youngest of the world's great religions, also one of the largest with approximately 1.6 billion adherents. The usual caveat about numbers in religion. I've seen different numbers, but that's what Pew Research said based on a 2011 survey. They are very diverse, Muslims. This is a universal religion, remember, like Christianity, Buddhism. It is the dominant religion in many developing nations in the Middle East, Africa, and Asia. The dominant belief is that there is only one God, Allah, which means the God in Arabic, or God with a capital G, the God of the Jews and the Christians. Though Allah has made himself known through other prophets at other times, his best and final revelation was to the prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, in the 7th century of the Common Era. Some clarification. Islam literally means submission. Submission to who? Well, to God, to Allah. It also is a cognate with peace. Salam is Arabic for peace. So Muslims often greet each other with the phrase, Salam alaikum, peace be upon you. A Muslim is one who submits to God. So Islam is the religion, Muslims are the adherents. So where are they? The largest Muslim dominant population in the world is Indonesia, with about 205 million Muslims. That is not the total population of Indonesia. It's a big country. There is large Christian and large Hindu minority, but mostly Muslim. 205 million. Number two, Pakistan with 178 million. That's close to the entire population of Pakistan. Number three is India. Notice the numbers there, 178, 177 in India. They're very close. It's hard to say for sure which one has the most Muslims. Now India, of course, is mostly Hindu. It has a lot of different religious minorities, but Islam is the biggest with 177 million, 10-ish%, a little more than that. Number four is another South Asian country, Bangladesh, 149 million. Now, Bangladesh is it's bigger than Alabama. I think it's more like Wisconsin, but Alabama has 4 million people. Bangladesh has about 150 million. It's the most densely populated nation in the world. Number five is Egypt, with about 80 million. Egypt is by far the most populous country in the Middle East. Now, and by the way, that's not the entire population of Egypt. 10% of Egyptians are Christians. They're Coptic Christians, Eastern Orthodox Christians. By the way, notice this is number five. It's the first country I've mentioned that is Arab. So we tend to equate, we ignorant Westerners, Arab with Islam. But in fact, many Arabs are Christian, and only a minority of Islam worldwide is Arabic. Muhammad was an Arab, and perhaps that's why we do it. But number six, also not an Arab nation, Nigeria. Nigeria is the largest nation in Africa by population, 76 million. And by the way, that's only about half of Nigeria's population. Nigeria, like most of sub-Saharan Africa, is about half and half, Christian and Muslim. Number seven is Iran, also not an Arab country. They speak Iranian Persian. They are Persian. They're ethnically different. They're Indo-Europeans, and that's the bulk of the population of Iran, almost totally Muslim. Number eight is Turkey, also not an Arab country. They speak Turkish. They're Turks. They are ethnically different, and that's most of the population of Turkey. Right, that's it. So I want to reemphasize the point. These top eight Muslim majority nations, only one, Egypt, in the middle is Arab. This is a universal religion. Now, Abraham and Ishmael is where the story of Islam starts. It says in the Jewish Bible and the Christian Old Testament that God said to Abraham, "Do not be distressed. by your wife Sarah wanting to send your concubine Hagar and her son Ishmael away, because I will also make a great nation out of your son by Hagar. So Muslims believe that Ismail in Arabic, is the father of the Arab race. So both Jews and Arabs are Semitic peoples with Semitic languages. Islam emerged in the Arabian Peninsula in the city of Mecca in the 7th century. The peninsula had some fertile land on the coast and some good agricultural land and some small oases, but was mostly vast stretches of barren rock and sand. There were well-established cities like Mecca, but most Arabians were nomads, Bedouins. It means an Arab nomad. For both the tribe and the clan were the social organizational scheme. Tribal loyalty superseded any other geographic, religious. This environment was hostile, and an isolated individual or even family stood little chance of survival. You had to depend on your tribe. Now, economically, there was some interdependence between the desert tribes and the city tribes. Bedouins were largely independent but would trade their sheep, goat, and camel products to the people of the oases for their agricultural produce. There were also craftsmen who would use the wool to make cloth, garments, tapestries, rugs. Then there were people like the Meccans who produced little but made a business of buying and selling and providing the markets. Also organizers of caravans. Mecca was a very important trade route center where certain caravan routes coincided with water transport. Mecca was very close to the Red Sea. Now, Mecca was famous for a meteoric stone that had fallen there centuries before. The stone became an object of veneration to the Arabs. By the time of Muhammad, pilgrims had built an enclosure around it called the Kaaba. It's this blocky building you see here. You see the blocks kind of at the bottom, but it's covered in black fabric with Arabic calligraphy on it. The Kaaba gradually filled with other relics, images, and paintings. One report claims it even contained images of Jesus and Mary. Islamic legend says that the black stone fell from the heavens in the time of Adam and Eve, and that Adam built the Kaaba. Another says that Abraham and Ishmael built it together, or rebuilt it. There are various stories. A period of several months each year was set aside as a time of truce between the warring tribes so pilgrims could travel to Mecca to worship at this shrine. The pilgrimage to the Kaaba predates Islam. By the time of Muhammad, the keepers of the Kaaba were members of the rich and powerful Quraysh tribe, or the Qurayshi. They derived considerable status from their stewardship of this sacred precinct. Also considerable economic advantages, not unlike the Saudis today. So what was the pre-Islamic scene in Arabia? Well, Arabia was not a complete religious vacuum in the 7th century, although the circumstances certainly were in need of spiritual renewal. It was locked in a cycle of tribal vengeance and violence. Arabia bordered two world superpowers to the north, the Byzantine Empire, headquartered in Constantinople, and the Persian Sassanid Empire, this latest iteration of the Persian Empire. This meant that there were both strong Christian and Zoroastrian influences in Arabia. Arabs were also very familiar with Judaism. Many of the desert tribes were, in fact, Jewish. Perhaps the biggest religious influence were the indigenous religion of the area. We know little about it, but it was polytheistic, but with one supreme God who was distant and unapproachable to human beings, Allah, but with a little a and a little l, meaning the God. La is God, all is the article. The moon was an object of adoration, but most important were the gods and spirits that were local and tribal. This was animist religion. Images of these gods were carved and cherished, and blood sacrifices were made to them. Perhaps the most important feature of pre-Islamic religion was this animism. Gods and spirits were found in stones, trees, wells, animals. The meteorite in the Kaaba is an example of this as well. But pre-Islamic tribal religion had no cosmology, no universal order, no strong moral teaching, no communal responsibility, no ideas about the afterlife. So into this world came Muhammad. Muhammad's role was improbable as the slave Moses or the carpenter Jesus. He was illiterate, an orphaned caravan manager in a land torn by tribal conflict, but he will change everything.